history has taught us anything, it is that human beings have a tendency to hurt one another by denying the worth of other human beings. We use words that bear hurtful and derogatory meanings on people in order to set them apart from us. As of late, I have heard the phrase hobo rather often, in reference to homeless people who pass through this area on I-70. When I asked these individuals about whether or not they have talked to any of these particular people, I got a response of no. Having worked in the social work field and in doing ministry, I've encountered many homeless people. I've even sat down and talked with them on occasion. Sometimes, though, despite all the training I have received, I still do dehumanize homeless people. During my last trip to Chicago, while I was waiting for the train, this woman came walking down the stairs. She was dressed in rags and completely filthy. I watched her walk around a little bit. Her gait revealed that she had some sort of drug in her system. Looking closer at her face, I could see the signs of heroin addiction. She was walking back and forth towards the stairs, seemingly walking as if in a different world. A buddy of mine started getting worried, and he noticed me watching her, and he asked me, "Is she all right?" I replied, "No, she's higher than a kite." We boarded the train, and since it was during a festival in downtown Chicago, it was completely crowded. I stood, allowing my friends to have some seats, and this woman came into our section of the train. She cried out, "Is there anyone willing to give me a few dollars to get a bus ticket so I can stay at the shelter tonight? Anyone. All I need is a few quarters, just enough to get across town. Anybody. The people in the other train gave me $1. Here, you could help someone in need." Everyone remained silent. All she needed was a few quarters. My logic and training, however, told me that it was dangerous to do that. Someone addicted to heroin will pass up a night of safe sleep in order to get high. Instead of looking at who she was, I instead looked at what she did. Despite seeing her as a beloved child, I saw instead only the addiction. In the gospel lesson today, we hear about some workers. These workers were looking to get paid the daily wage, which is what they would agree to. And because of that, they expected that, everyone would get paid according to how much work they had. This is no different than what we expect. You go to work, you get paid. If you work overtime, you get paid more. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. This is the justice that we see. You do the work, you receive the reward. However, this is not the way that the owner of the vineyard looked at the world. The owner of the vineyard looked at it differently. He told the workers who were complaining about what he did, "You agreed to this. You agreed to be given the daily wage. So, you get it. I've kept my promise." And to the other workers, I was generous. I gave what I wanted to give. This is very difficult for some of us who live in a system where we see justice as a matter of you get what you reap, you get what you deserve. The thing is that we don't really deserve what we get from God. Because, in all honesty, we are all sinners. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. And because of our sin, if we were following by the laws of which we create, we would have died. Death is the answer to, or is the reward for who we are and for what we give. The thing is, though, is that God has chosen differently. God chooses to be generous, to look to all of us, to give the grace, to give that forgiveness, even though we don't deserve it, even though we don't work for it all the time. God gives, even though we sin. And that is what I promise to all of you today. We are a people of wrath, just like these other workers who believe that those who don't work hard enough should not get this reward. And the thing is, we sin because of what we do. We consider these people who don't work to be riffraff. But the thing is, just as we judge them, we are riffraff. Just as much as we judge them, we become that riffraff. Those who look to an idol of God, someone painting God in an image that is more likable to us, a God who is just according to our standards. The thing is, that just doesn't work. That is why, my brothers and sisters, Christ died on the cross for you. That is why God is merciful and just, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, because you cannot do it alone. God knows your heart. But instead of smiting you with bolts of lightning, God has chosen to die on a cross in your place, gaining victory over even your own sin. Your judgments and downfalls are replaced by the victory on the cross, and the resurrection has become the new standard by which this world functions. What you destroy, God raises up from the ashes. What you condemn, God instead sanctifies, and you are included in that. You have been destroyed by your own judgments and sins, but God has raised you up in new life, making you ready to enter a world in which God will work God's creative hand to shape and mold a new world through you, full of opportunity and life. Despite being condemned by the law, God has instead chosen to clean that from you and has made you saints to carry out the works of God, working through you to make this world holy, set aside for God's salvation of the world, an ultimate plan for healing of the universe. You are constantly being freed of your guilt, able to move on from your dirty work and onto the work of being followers of Christ. God does not view you nor your neighbors in regards to your works or their works, but instead of who you are, created and beloved children of God. The victory has been won for all times, and grace abounds even in a world of sin. These workers' ultimate complaint is the ultimate reason why you even exist. God is most certainly gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. And God's generosity is what brought salvation to all of us.